The night was cold, dark, and heavy with silence. Only the sound of rain hitting the roof filled the lonely house. Inside, a man named Daniel sat near the fireplace, his hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea. He lived alone, far from the town, surrounded only by trees and shadows. For years he had grown used to this quiet life. No surprises, no visitors, no voices except the whisper of the wind. But that night something broke the silence. A faint sound, soft at first, then louder. A knock on the wooden door. Daniel froze, his heart skipped. He had not seen anyone for weeks who could be here at this hour. In the middle of the storm, he stood slowly, placing the cup on the table. His steps were careful as he walked toward the door. The knocking came again, faster, urgent. Daniel felt a strange pull in his chest. Fear mixed with curiosity. With trembling fingers, he unlocked the door and pulled it open. There she was, standing in the rain, a figure unlike anything he had seen before. A woman, but not human. Her skin was pale with a faint glow, her eyes large and filled with exhaustion. She held something close to her chest. Wrapped in a torn blanket, Daniel's breath caught. He wanted to step back, to shut the door, but his legs would not move. The woman raised her head weakly, water dripping from her hair, and whispered in broken English, "Help, please." Her voice was fragile, like it might break at any second. She staggered forward, placing the small bundle on the doorstep. The blanket shifted, and Daniel saw tiny hands, a small face, glowing eyes staring up at him with quiet innocence. It was a baby, not fully human, not fully alien, but alive, weak, and trembling in the cold. Daniel's mind spun. He wanted to deny what he was seeing. He wanted to believe this was a dream. Yet the sound of the storm, the sight of the baby, and the look of despair in the mother's eyes told him it was real. The alien woman swayed on her feet. She clutched her chest, her breath ragged. "Protect!" she whispered, her voice almost lost in the rain. Her hand lifted weakly and pointed at him. Then she collapsed on the ground, unmoving. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked from the unconscious mother to the small child in the blanket. His human instincts screamed at him to close the door, to call the authorities, to get away from this danger. But another voice inside him, a deeper voice, whispered something else. It told him to care, to not turn away. The baby made a small sound, a cry, soft but filled with need. Daniel bent down without thinking. His hands reached the bundle. He lifted it gently, feeling how light and fragile it was. The baby looked up at him with glowing eyes, not afraid, not crying anymore, just watching. He carried the baby inside, the warmth of the fire touching its face. He laid the bundle carefully on a chair and turned back to the woman lying outside in the rain. His heart told him he could not leave her there. He rushed out, lifted her heavy body onto his shoulder, and brought her inside too. Placing her near the fire, Daniel covered her with a blanket. He knelt beside her, staring at her strange yet familiar face. She looked like a mother who had risked everything for her child. Even though she was alien, he could see the pain, the fear, the sacrifice. The baby shifted and let out another small sound. Daniel looked at it again, feeling a strange connection forming. He had lost his own family years ago, and since then, his heart had been closed. But now, in one single moment, a door inside him opened again. The storm outside grew louder, thunder shaking the walls. Daniel glanced at the window, and for a moment, he thought he saw movement in the darkness, shapes among the trees, watching, waiting. His stomach tightened. He realized this was not an accident. The woman had come here for a reason. She had chosen his door, and now danger was near. The firelight flickered across the walls. Daniel felt the weight of choice pressing on his chest. Should he call for help, knowing these strangers might be taken away? Or should he keep them hidden, risking his own life? The mother's weak voice echoed in his head. Protect. Daniel clenched his fists. He did not know what future waited for him. For the baby, for the mother, but deep down he knew one thing. This night was only the beginning, and somewhere outside, the shadows in the forest moved closer. The storm had not ended. Rain still lashed against the windows, filling the house with a constant rhythm. Daniel sat near the fire, his eyes moving between the unconscious alien mother and the child now asleep in the blanket. He had not spoken a word since bringing them inside. His mind was a battlefield of questions. Who were they? Where had they come from? Why leave a baby at his door? And why did the mother use that single word? Protect. The baby's small chest rose and fell gently. The glow in its eyes had dimmed to a soft shimmer. Daniel felt uneasy but also strangely calm when looking at it, like the child carried an aura that touched his heart. He leaned closer, brushing the blanket aside. The baby's skin was smoother than human skin. Almost translucent, tiny veins glowed faintly, as if light ran beneath the surface. Daniel whispered to himself, "You shouldn't exist." The words were heavy, but he could not deny them. The child was proof of something forbidden, something the world was not ready to see. The alien mother stirred, coughing weakly. Her eyelids fluttered open, and she turned her head slowly toward Daniel. For a moment she looked terrified. Then she saw the baby in his arms, and her fear softened. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Safe?" Daniel nodded, though he was not sure what safe meant anymore. "Yes," he said quietly. "The baby is safe." The woman tried to sit up but failed, her body shaking with exhaustion. She reached for the child, but Daniel held the baby close. He hesitated, then placed the bundle gently in her arms. Her long fingers trembled as she touched the child's cheek. Her eyes filled with tears, tears that glowed faintly in the firelight. "They hunt us," she whispered, her English broken. "They want him. They want the child. You must not call. Not your kind, not your soldiers, not your law if they find him. They kill, they break, they use." Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to argue, to say this was not his fight. But deep down he felt her fear was real. Her body carried wounds, burns and cuts, scars from running, scars from fighting. "Who hunts you?" Daniel asked, his voice low. Her gaze flicked toward the window where the storm shadows danced. Her lips trembled. "Hunters, not human. Not mine, others. They want the child. The child is hope for my kind, for all." The baby stirred, letting out a soft sound like a sigh. The woman kissed its forehead, whispering words in a strange alien tongue. Daniel could not understand, but he felt the weight of her emotions. She was not lying. He could see it, he could feel it. Then Daniel froze, a sound outside, faint but clear, not thunder, not wind, a low hum. Mechanical, foreign, his heart pounded. He stood quickly and moved to the window. Through the rain, he saw them. Dark shapes moving between the trees, lights sweeping across the forest floor. Their steps were too steady, too sharp, not human, not travelers lost in the night, but hunters searching. He turned back to the woman. "They're here," he said in a whisper. She nodded weakly, her grip tightening around the baby, her eyes filled with fear, but also with determination. "You hide us," she begged, "please." Daniel felt sweat on his palms. He had lived a quiet life, never seeking danger, never holding responsibility for others, yet now he stood in his small cabin, with a baby that should not exist, a mother who carried secrets, and enemies already at his door. He moved quickly, pulling open a trap door near the fireplace. The old basement, once used for storing tools and wood, was dark and cold. "Down there," he said, helping her crawl toward it. She clutched the child tightly, whispering soothing sounds as the baby whimpered. As Daniel lowered her inside, he heard voices outside the house. Not human voices, harsh and metallic. He froze, listening. "The signal is near," one voice said. "The mother cannot be far." "The child," another replied. "Find the child. The key must not escape." Daniel's chest tightened. The words confirmed everything. This baby was more than a child, more than life. It was a key to something far greater, and they would kill to possess it. He shut the trapdoor gently, covering it with a rug. His hands shook as he grabbed his hunting rifle from the wall. He had never used it against anything more than a deer. But now he might face creatures that did not belong to Earth. The knocking came again, this time louder, heavier, shaking the door on its hinges open. A voice demanded from outside, deep and mechanical. "We search, we enter." Daniel's heart pounded like a drum. His finger brushed against the trigger of the rifle. His mind screamed at him to run, to hide, but his heart told him something else. He thought of the glowing eyes of the child, the desperate plea of the mother, and the word that echoed in his mind, protect. The door rattled again, more violently this time. Daniel took a deep breath, his body shaking, and whispered to himself, "If they want the child, they'll have to come through me." The fire crackled. The storm roared, and the hunters stood at his door. The night of silence was gone. A war was about to begin. The storm outside seemed to grow angrier. Lightning flashed across the sky, lighting the forest for a heartbeat. In that brief glow, Daniel saw them more clearly. Dark armored figures moving with precision. Their shapes were tall and lean, their movements sharp. Too sharp for any human soldier. The banging on the door rattled the small cabin. Each strike sent vibrations through the wooden floor. Daniel's grip tightened on his rifle. His pulse raced, sweat dripping down his temple. He stood frozen for a moment, torn between fight and flight. "Open," a voice demanded again, metallic and cold. "By law of pursuit. You surrender the fugitives." Daniel's breath caught. Fugitives, that was what they called the woman and her child. He thought of the mother hidden under the trapdoor, clutching her baby with desperate arms. He could almost hear her whisper echoing inside his skull. "Protect?" The knock became a crash. The hunters outside were not patient. Daniel knew the door would not hold. His eyes darted across the room. He had no defenses, only the firelight. His rifle and his courage. Courage he had not needed in years. Courage he thought had died with his past. The front door burst open. Splinters flew across the floor as the hunters stepped inside. Rain poured through the gap behind them. The first one entered with heavy steps, glowing red eyes sweeping the room like a predator's. Its armor was dark, its mask featureless. Its voice hissed through a device on its chest. "Life forms detected," it said, scanning. "Human male irrelevant." "Eliminate if resistant," Daniel's heart pounded. He raised the rifle, his hands trembling. "Stop right there," he shouted. His voice cracked but still carried weight. "You're not welcome here." The hunter tilted its head slightly, as if studying him, then it stepped forward. Ignoring the warning, Daniel fired. The blast thundered in the cabin. Smoke and light filled the air. The creature staggered but did not fall. The bullet had pierced its armor but only scratched it. The red eyes glared. Resistant. Terminate. Another hunter entered behind the first. Then a third, their heavy footsteps shook the wooden floor. Daniel realized he was hopelessly outnumbered. His finger shook on the trigger. His chest burned with fear. Then from below, a soft cry rose through the floorboards, the baby, its small voice cutting through the storm and fire. Daniel froze, his heart sinking. The hunters' heads turned sharply, their glowing eyes focusing on the sound. The key. One whispered in its strange voice, "It is here." Daniel felt cold run down his spine. They had heard it, they knew. The lead hunter stepped toward the rug covering the trapdoor. Its heavy boot pressed on the wood. Daniel's stomach twisted. He had no choice. He charged forward, slamming the butt of his rifle into the creature's chest. It staggered back a step, surprised by the sudden attack. "Run!" Daniel shouted toward the floorboards, hoping the woman could hear him. "Get ready to run." The hunters roared. Their metallic voices filled the cabin with commands. "Secure the infant, kill the human." Daniel's rifle fired again, sparks bursting against armor. He ducked as another hunter swung a blade-like weapon that hummed with energy. The strike cut deep into the wall, sending wood flying. The cabin shook under the battle. One hunter raised its arm, a weapon glowing on its wrist. Daniel dove to the side as a bolt of energy shot past him. Scorching the air, the blast hit the fireplace. Flames scattering, the fire roared higher, casting wild shadows across the room. The trapdoor creaked. The alien mother pushed it open just slightly. Her glowing eyes peered out. She held the baby tightly, whispering something in her own language. Her face was pale but filled with determination. Daniel's eyes met hers. He shook his head sharply. "Not yet," he mouthed. He would not let them see her. Not until he had no other choice. The hunters closed in, circling. Their red eyes glowed brighter. One of them spoke. "The infant is the key to survival. Hand it over. And your death will be quick." Daniel gritted his teeth. "Over my dead body." The hunters raised their weapons, ready to strike. Daniel's heart raced. His breath shallow. He thought this might be the end. Then something unexpected happened. The baby's cry rose louder, but this time it was not ordinary. The sound vibrated in the air, a strange hum that shook the walls. Light seeped through the cracks of the floorboards, soft at first, then brighter. Daniel and the hunters all froze for a moment. The cabin filled with a strange energy. The hunters hissed, stepping back. "Unstable," one muttered. "Control the key before it awakens." The baby's cry turned into a burst of energy. A wave of light pulsed through the cabin. Throwing the hunters back, their armor sparked. Their red eyes flickered. Daniel shielded his face from the glow, feeling the heat press against his skin. When the light dimmed, silence followed. The hunters staggered to their feet. Confused and shaken, the baby had stopped crying. But the glow still lingered. Daniel's eyes widened. He realized the child was not only alive. It carried power beyond anything he understood. Power that even these hunters feared. The hunters hissed to each other in their metallic voices. Contain it quickly, one said, before it matures. Daniel raised his rifle again, sweat dripping from his brow. His legs shook, but he planted them firm. He knew now this fight was not only for survival, it was for the future of something far greater than himself. The hunters advanced again, their weapons sparking. The storm raged louder outside, the cabin walls shook, and Daniel whispered to himself, "Then let's see if humanity can stand against monsters." The battle was far from over. It had only just begun. The cabin was shaking. Flames flickered from the broken fireplace, smoke rising as rain poured through the shattered doorway. Daniel stood in the middle of the chaos, his rifle trembling in his hands. The hunters advanced again, red eyes glowing, their weapons sparking with deadly light. The alien mother pushed the trapdoor open wider, crawling up with the baby pressed tight to her chest. Her breath was ragged, her body weak, but her eyes glowed with fierce determination. She whispered something in her language. Soft words meant to calm the child. Daniel turned toward her. "We can't stay," he said quickly, his voice urgent. "They'll burn this place to the ground. We have to run." One hunter lunged forward. Raising its blade, Daniel fired without thinking. The blast hit the creature in the chest, sending it stumbling back into the wall. The other hunters roared, their voices metallic and sharp. The mother clutched her child tighter. Fear flashing across her face, Daniel grabbed her arm. Pulling her toward the back door, the hunters followed. But the smoke and flames gave them cover. Daniel kicked the rear exit open, the storm crashing down on them as they fled into the night. The rain was heavy, soaking them instantly. The forest loomed dark and endless, shadows twisting between the trees. Daniel held the rifle in one hand, guiding the mother with the other. Their steps splashed through mud and leaves. Their breaths ragged, behind them the hunters gave chase, their lights cutting through the storm. Daniel's heart pounded with every step. He had never run for his life like this, never felt the weight of someone else's life in his hands. But now he carried more than his own survival. He carried hope. A fragile hope wrapped in a trembling blanket. "Where?" Daniel gasped. "Where do we go?" The mother's voice was weak but certain. "Far." Old place." She pointed ahead, deeper into the woods. "Safe. For now." Daniel didn't know if she was right, but he had no choice. He pushed forward, branches whipping his face, mud grabbing at his boots. The baby whimpered softly. But then strangely, its glow brightened. The light was faint, but enough to guide their steps through the storm. Behind them, the hunters closed in. Their footsteps were too steady, too fast. The sound of drones buzzed above, metallic wings slicing through the rain. Daniel ducked under a fallen tree, pushing the mother ahead of him. His chest burned, his legs screamed, but he forced himself to keep running. A sudden beam of light cut across the ground near them. A drone hovered above, its red eye glowing. Daniel raised his rifle and fired. The blast hit, sparks flying as the machine fell, crashing into the mud with a hiss. The noise drew the hunters closer, their voices sharp. "Target sighted." "Secure the infant." The mother stumbled, nearly falling. Daniel caught her, lifting the baby into his arms. "I've got him," he said. "Keep moving." The child's glowing eyes looked into his. Calm even in the storm, Daniel felt strength surge in his chest. He would not let them take this child. Not while he still breathed. They reached a narrow ravine, water rushing below. The mother pointed again. "There," she said weakly. "Bridge." Daniel saw the old wooden planks stretched across the gap. Shaking in the storm, it looked unstable, dangerous. But it was their only chance. They hurried onto the bridge, the wood groaning under their weight. The hunters appeared at the edge of the ravine, their red eyes glaring through the rain. One raised its weapon, firing. The blast hit the railing, splinters flying into the air. The bridge swayed violently. Daniel nearly lost his balance, clutching the baby tighter. "Go," he shouted, pushing the mother forward. She moved slowly, her legs weak, but determination burned in her eyes. They reached the other side just as the hunters stepped onto the bridge. Daniel turned and fired again. The blast struck the planks. Cracking them, the bridge groaned, then snapped. The hunters fell with the collapsing wood, their metallic voices echoing as they plunged into the ravine below. Sparks lit the air as their armor hit the rocks and rushing water. Daniel pulled the mother away from the edge, his chest heaving, his legs shook with exhaustion. For a moment there was silence, only the sound of rain and the rushing water below. Daniel collapsed onto the ground, clutching the baby against his chest. The mother fell beside him, her breath shallow. The child stirred, glowing faintly. Daniel looked at them both, his heart pounding. "This isn't over," he said softly. His eyes scanned the trees. "They'll send more." "They won't stop." The mother nodded weakly, her voice barely a whisper. "Child, hope, future must live." She touched Daniel's arm, her eyes pleading. "Protect, please." Daniel swallowed hard. His life had changed in one night. He was no longer just a lonely man in a cabin. He was now a protector, hunted by creatures not of this world, carrying a secret that could change everything. In the distance, through the trees, faint lights moved again. More hunters, relentless. The storm had given them no rest. The chase would not end here. Daniel stood, pulling the mother to her feet. The baby's glow lit their faces, soft but unyielding. He looked at the forest ahead, endless and dark. "Then we keep running," he said. "And we never stop." The storm roared, the forest waited, and the flight into the night had only just begun. The storm slowly faded as night stretched on. The forest was wet and heavy with mist. Rain dripped from the trees in steady rhythm. Daniel moved carefully through the darkness, his boots sinking into mud, the baby warm and glowing faintly in his arms. The alien mother followed close behind, her breath weak but steady. They had escaped the hunters for now, but Daniel knew it would not last. He had seen the lights in the distance, moving, searching. The hunters would not give up. Not until they had the baby. They reached an abandoned structure hidden deep in the woods. An old ranger station long forgotten. The roof sagged, the walls cracked, but it was shelter. Daniel pushed the broken door open and helped the mother inside. He laid her down on an old cot and sat near the baby, his rifle resting close. For a moment there was silence. The storm outside grew quiet, only the drip of water breaking the air. Daniel stared at the child. His heart still beat fast from the escape, but when he looked into those glowing eyes, his fear softened. The baby stared back, calm, as if it trusted him completely. Daniel whispered, "You're not afraid, are you?" "Not even after all that." The baby reached out, its tiny hand brushing his finger. A warmth spread through him, not just physical but deep. It reminded him of something he had almost forgotten, what it felt like to care. The mother's voice broke the silence, weak but clear. "He trusts you." She leaned forward, her eyes shimmering in the dim light. "Strange, you are human, yet he trusts more than me, more than anyone." Daniel shook his head. "I don't even understand what's happening. I'm just a man who lived alone in the woods. I'm no hero. Why me?" Her gaze held his. "Because you choose. Others would give us away, others would fear, but you protect. That is enough." Daniel looked at the child again.
He thought of his past, of the empty house he once shared with his wife before sickness took her.
Of the nights filled with silence. He had locked his heart away, but now it was opening. Piece by piece, the baby stirred, letting out a small hum. Suddenly, a faint glow spread across the walls. Daniel looked around in shock. The light was not from the fire or the moon. It was coming from the child. The baby's glow pulsed gently like a heartbeat. The mother's eyes widened. "He is stronger," she whispered. "Faster than I thought already. Changing." Daniel frowned. "Changing into what?" She looked down, her hands trembling. "He is not just mine, not just alien. He carries your kind too, human blood, human spirit. That is why they fear him. That is why they call him Key. He is the bridge, the answer. If he lives, my people may survive. Maybe even yours." Daniel felt a chill. The baby, half alien, half human, was not only rare, it was impossible. Something created in secret. Something dangerous to those who wanted control. He realized he was holding more than a child. He was holding the future. A noise outside broke his thoughts. A crack of a branch. Daniel tensed, his hand gripping the rifle. He crept to the window, peering into the mist. For a moment he saw nothing, only dark trees. Then a faint red light flickered between the trunks. His chest tightened. "They're close again," he whispered. He turned to the mother. "We can't stay here long." She nodded, though her face showed pain. "I cannot run far," she admitted. "But he can. You must keep him safe. Promise me." Daniel's voice hardened. "I will, no matter what. I promise." The baby let out another soft hum. The glow pulsed stronger. The air in the station seemed to vibrate with invisible energy. Dust shook from the ceiling. Daniel felt it deep in his bones. The power was growing. He looked at the mother, fear mixing with awe. "Can he control it?" Her eyes lowered. "Not yet, too young, too fragile, but someday, yes." Someday he will be more than either of us. That is why they fear him. That is why you must not fail. Daniel sat back, staring at the baby in his arms. His thoughts raced. He was no soldier, no leader. Yet this child had chosen him. The mother trusted him, and deep down, he knew he could not turn away now. The red light outside flickered again. Closer this time, the hunters were moving, searching. The silence would not last. Daniel stood, his voice firm. Then we move before they trap us. We'll find somewhere safer. Somewhere they won't expect. The mother struggled to her feet. Her eyes filled with gratitude. You are human. But you fight like one of us, perhaps. That is why he trusts you. Daniel glanced at the baby, who smiled softly as if understanding. He tightened his grip, his chest swelling with resolve. For the first time in years, Daniel no longer felt like a man drifting through life. He felt like someone with purpose, someone needed, he whispered. More to himself than anyone. I lost one family. I won't lose this one. Outside, the hunters' voices echoed through the mist. Metallic and cruel, they were closing in. The chase was not over. It had only grown more dangerous. Daniel pulled the mother close, holding the baby firmly. He looked into the darkness of the forest and felt the bond inside him grow. Stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. Whatever waited ahead, he would face it, not for himself, but for them, and with that, they stepped back into the night, carrying hope in their arms. The forest thinned as dawn approached. Pale light crept between the trees. Painting the world in gray, Daniel moved with heavy steps, the baby resting against his chest. The alien mother stumbled beside him, her strength fading, but her resolve unbroken. They had walked for hours, hunted shadows always at their back. Daniel's eyes scanned the horizon until he saw it. An old concrete building half hidden under vines, a structure from another time. Abandoned, quiet, forgotten, he guided her toward it. The heavy door creaked as he pushed it open. The air inside smelled of dust and rust. Long corridors stretched into darkness. Daniel set the mother down on a bench and lit a small lantern he found in the corner. The weak glow revealed faded posters on the wall. They were old military signs, human words warning about alien threats. Daniel's stomach twisted. He brushed dust from one of the posters. It showed a picture of an alien face, sharp and cruel, with the words "Enemy of Earth" stamped across it. He turned toward the mother, who sat cradling the baby, her eyes dim with exhaustion. "This place," Daniel whispered. "It was used during the war, wasn't it, humans and your kind? We fought here." She nodded slowly, her voice weak but steady. "Long ago, yes, we were enemies. Your kind feared us. My kind feared you. But fear always destroys. Now, we are both dying." Daniel sat heavily on a broken chair. His mind whirled. The baby in her arms stirred. Glowing softly, even in the dim light, Daniel felt that strange warmth again, but also a weight, a truth pressing down on him. "You said before," Daniel began, "that he's not just alien, that he's part human too. How is that possible?" The mother lowered her gaze, her hands trembling as she stroked the baby's face. "Desperation. My people are few. Our children do not survive. We tried to create a bridge. A child who could carry both bloods. I was chosen, I carried him, and now he is the only one who lived." Daniel's breath caught. The truth was heavy. The baby wasn't just rare. He was one of a kind. A living answer to a dying race, but more than that, he was proof of a future where human and alien blood could mix. Before Daniel could speak again, a sound echoed down the corridor. Footsteps steady and deliberate. Daniel stood quickly, raising his rifle. The mother clutched the baby tighter. Fear flashing across her face. From the shadows stepped a figure. A man human, his clothes were military issue. His face sharp and cold. Daniel lowered his rifle slightly, surprised. "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "Name's Colonel Reeves. I've been tracking you since the night you left your cabin." "You've caused quite a mess," Daniel frowned, unease rising in his chest. "You mean you know about them?" he asked. Nodding toward the mother and child, Reeves stepped closer, his boots echoing in the empty hall. "Of course I know. We've been watching for years. Waiting for this moment. The child is the most valuable thing in the galaxy. And you just happened to stumble into it," the mother hissed weakly, her eyes glowing brighter. "You, traitor." Reeves tilted his head. "Not a traitor, just a realist. The hunters aren't our enemies. Not anymore. We made a deal. We give them the child. And Earth gets technology, weapons, power beyond your imagination." Daniel's stomach dropped. His hands tightened on the rifle. "You'd sell a child. You'd hand him over to monsters, Reeves smirked. He's not a child. He's a tool, a weapon, don't fool yourself. This isn't about family or love, it's about survival. Humanity first? The mother clutched the baby to her chest, her voice trembling but fierce. He is not weapon, he is life, future. More than you can see. Reeves stepped closer, his hand resting casually on the pistol at his side. His voice dropped low. Give him to me, Daniel, don't be stupid. You can walk away alive. You can forget all of this. Let the deal be made. It's bigger than you. Daniel felt his chest burn with rage. He thought of his lonely cabin, of his empty life, of the night when the mother placed her child at his door. He thought of the baby's glowing eyes, the way it reached for him with trust, the word that echoed in his mind, protect. No, Daniel said, his voice steady. I'm not handing him over, not to you. Not to them. Reeves's smile faded. His eyes hardened. Then you die here, he said coldly. He raised his pistol. The baby stirred, its glow flaring. The air vibrated again. Dust rained from the ceiling. Daniel felt the same energy as before, stronger now, pulsing like a heartbeat in the air. Reeves's face twisted in shock as the glow filled the corridor. What is this? Reeves shouted. Shielding his eyes, the baby's cry echoed. A sound filled with power. A wave of light burst outward, shaking the walls. Reeves was thrown back against the concrete, his pistol clattering across the floor. His eyes wide with terror, the mother gasped. Holding the child tightly. He is growing faster, stronger soon. None can stop him. Daniel stood firm, rifle in hand, his voice low and steady. Then let them come, we'll protect him, whatever it takes. Reeves groaned. Crawling to his knees, his eyes blazed with fury. You don't understand, you've doomed us all. But Daniel knew the truth. He had not doomed anyone, he had chosen. And for the first time in years, his choice gave him purpose. The hunters were near, the traitor still alive, and the baby's power awakening. The night was far from over. The truth had only begun to unfold. The old military station trembled with the echo of the baby's cry. Dust drifted from the cracked ceiling. Lights flickered from broken wires. Daniel stood tall with the rifle in his hands, the alien mother clutching her child. Colonel Reeves on the floor, glaring at them with rage. Outside, the storm rumbled once more, but its sound was soon drowned out by something heavier. The hunters had arrived. Their footsteps shook the ground. Their metallic voices echoed through the concrete halls. Locate the key, secure the infant, terminate resistance. Daniel's chest tightened. He looked at the mother, her face pale but unyielding. He looked at the child, glowing brighter than ever. The warmth of the baby's light filled the room, wrapping around Daniel like a shield for a brief moment. He no longer felt fear, only resolve. Reeves dragged himself to his feet, his voice sharp. You can't fight them. Daniel, this is bigger than you. Hand over the child and live. You're a fool if you think you can win. Daniel's jaw clenched. His voice came steady. Maybe I am a fool, but I'd rather die a fool than live as a coward who gave up a child. The alien mother raised her eyes to him, tears glistening. You choose. You choose life, not fear. The door exploded inward, metal tearing like paper. The hunters stormed inside, their red eyes blazing, energy weapons sparking. Reeves stepped back quickly, raising his hands. I am your ally, he shouted. Take the child. Leave me. But the hunters did not pause. Their focus was on the baby. Their voices hissed in unison. The key! The key! Take it now. Daniel lifted his rifle, firing at the first one. The shot cracked through the hall, sparks flying as the hunter stumbled. Another raised its arm, firing a bolt of energy. Daniel dove aside, the blast scorching the wall where he had stood. The baby cried again, its glow flaring, the air vibrated. Stronger than before, the hunters staggered, their armor sparking under the pulse of invisible power. Reeves shielded his face, shouting, Control it! You must control it. The mother rocked the child gently, whispering words in her tongue, her voice soft but steady. The glow calmed, but it did not vanish. It spread like a shield around them. Faint but strong, Daniel stood within that light. His heart racing, he felt strength surge through him, more than he had ever known. He raised his rifle again, his voice fierce. If you want them, you'll have to go through me, the hunters roared. Charging forward, blades hummed with energy. Their weapons sparking, Daniel fired again and again. Each shot fueled not by fear but by defiance. The room filled with thunder, smoke, and sparks. One hunter lunged. Swinging its blade, Daniel braced. ready for the strike, but before it could land, the baby's glow surged again. A wave of light threw the creature back, slamming it against the wall. Its armor cracked. Sparks bursting. Reeves saw it. His face twisted with awe and fear. "It's too powerful," he shouted. "Don't you see? That thing will destroy us all." Daniel turned his glare on him. "He's not a thing, he's a child." The battle raged. The hunters pressed harder, relentless. Daniel fought with everything he had, the mother shielding her child, the baby's light bursting again and again, driving the creatures back. Finally, with one last surge of power, the child let out a cry that shook the walls. A wave of pure light erupted, brighter than fire, stronger than thunder. The hunters screamed in their metallic voices as their armor split and shattered. Sparks and smoke filled the air as they fell, one by one, until silence returned. The station was quiet again. Only the sound of rain dripping from the broken roof remained. Daniel stood shaking, his rifle heavy in his hands. The mother knelt on the floor, rocking the baby gently. The glow faded, leaving only a soft shimmer. Reeves lay against the wall, eyes wide with terror, his voice cracked. "You don't understand, Daniel. That child will change everything. Nations will fight for him. The galaxy will come for him. You can't stop it?" Daniel lowered his rifle. Stepping closer, his voice was calm, steady. "Maybe they will come, maybe they will fight. But until my last breath, he won't face it alone." Reeves's eyes darkened, but he said nothing more. He turned his face away, defeated. Daniel knelt beside the mother. She looked at him, her eyes soft with gratitude. "You chose," she whispered. "You chose us, not fear, not power." See, Daniel touched the baby's small hand. The child looked up at him, glowing eyes calm. For the first time since his wife's death, Daniel felt alive, not alone, not empty. He felt the bond of family, a bond he thought he had lost forever. The dawn light spilled into the ruined station. Golden and warm, Daniel stood with the mother and child. The storm had passed, but a greater storm was still coming. The hunters would return, others would come. Reeves's warning was not wrong, but Daniel's choice was made. He would protect them. He would fight for them. And if this child was the key to the future, then humanity would not be remembered for fear or betrayal. It would be remembered for courage, for compassion, for standing when it mattered most. The baby smiled faintly, its glow touching the walls like the first rays of a new sun. Daniel whispered, "If this is the future, then I'll make sure it survives." The war was not over. The danger had only begun, but in that moment, under the rising light of dawn, humanity's choice was clear, and Daniel had made it.